Building Jamaica's film industry one blockbuster at a time. Weekend Business Report starts right now. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Kenil Gale. Thanks so much for joining us this week. We'll get to this week's feature story in the next segment, but we're starting the show with a special news segment on the Petrojam saga that captured headlines this week. An Auditor General's report on the operations of Petrojam and parent company, the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica, which was tabled in Parliament on Tuesday, revealed details of nepotism, cronyism, countless breaches of human resource policies, and severe mismanagement of funds. Jamila Maitland led BATV's coverage of the issues which came out of the report.
After a 5-month-long probe into the operations of Petrojam, the Auditor General's Department uncovered explicit acts of nepotism. An example cited was the fact that former Human Resource Manager Yolande Ramharak employed her brother as instrument and electrical technician after an interview panel said he was inexperienced and unqualified for the job. He was hired even though there was no evidence of advanced qualification or a subsequent interview to justify his employment. The report revealed that the HR manager breached Petrojam's employment policy, which prohibits the employment of siblings. The report further revealed that the sibling was shortlisted even though the position was only advertised internally for existing staff only. The compensation package for the position was $2.4 million. There was another instance cited where an individual was initially interviewed on January 18, 2018 for the position of process engineer on the Vacuum Distillation Unit Project, VDU, a major project to upgrade the refinery. The individual was rejected by a 4-member interview panel as he lacked industry engineering and project experience. A month later, the said individual was re-interviewed for the same position by the general manager, the HR manager, and the technical service manager who were not part of the first interview panel. The individual was then recommended for what was described as a more strategic role on the project given intellect, experience, and strategic competencies. He was employed as the head of the project in the capacity of VDU project director. The report revealed that the position was not included on the staff structure for the VDU project. The compensation package for this newly created post was $8 million.
And from nepotism and cronyism to private and personal surprise birthday parties, Petrojam's management spent some $2.6 million on personal entertainment events and attempted to conceal them as strategic meetings for the company. Here's more.
Surprises everywhere. Even after severing ties with the company, the works of former General Manager Floyd Grindley continues to dominate the Auditor General's report. Mr. Grindley approved payments for invoices totaling $2.6 million in relation to 2 parties which were of a personal and private nature. The parties were held on September 19, 2017 and January 9, 2018 at 2 separate hotels in Montego Bay. Emails recovered during the AG's investigation revealed that the events were deemed surprise birthday parties and a surprise party. The report revealed that the event on January 9 was a surprise party for former board chairman Dr. Percival Bahadur Singh with 25 guests. A copy of the invoice submitted by the hotel reflected $10,506.25 US, which detailed charges for the 25 guests who attended the scheduled 8 p.m. to midnight party. The report did not say how long the group stayed at the hotel. A copy of the expenditure for the party quoted in US dollars showed food and beverages amounted to $3,600 US, site fee $1,000, decoration $1,250, lighting packages $1,200, music and entertainment DJ $600, dessert $750, a generator cost at $420, and the taxes amounted to $1,687. But prior to the event, the general manager forwarded the hotel's invoice to his administrative assistant to generate procurement information. The email memo read it was for a pre-strategic meeting in Mobay last week. However, the particulars of the hotel's invoice did not support the claim. But that was not it. The general manager soon requested reimbursement for the party, describing it as a strategic meeting. Mr. Grindley requested $225,748 Jamaican dollars, all of which was approved.
The financial viability of the state-owned oil refinery was also brought into full focus. The report revealed that since 2013, Petrojam has seen financial losses of over $5 billion from hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil that was never accounted for. More in this report.
The report revealed that over the last 5 years, an estimated total of 2 million barrels of oil valuing $18 billion was lost. While some was due to normal processes in the oil refinery production, Petrojam could not account for over 500,000 barrels valuing $5.2 billion. And in 2017 to 2018, the amount of unaccounted oil increased by almost 70,000 barrels or 60%. And even though they spent almost $1 million on measures to minimize the oil losses, the AG reveals that the losses persist. This, as the task force set up to reduce the losses, only achieved one of its 8 deliverables. Another key finding of the report was the state-owned oil refinery's inability to check the volume of products received against those ordered. Petrojam employed cargo surveyors to gauge the actual volume of product offloaded by observing the pre- and post-product volume readings of the ship, but the Auditor General declared this method as impractical. Petrojam then acquired a meter and prover system to accurately measure its goods, but further investigation revealed that the $500,000 system has never been used and now obsolete.
Meanwhile, controversial donations by Petrojam uncovered in the AG's report have triggered speculations. Not only were the donations made in questionably large amounts with no due diligence, they were also made to unregistered groups in areas of St. Catherine. Here's more.
The AG's report revealed that donations were approved in contravention of Petrojam's donation policy. Documents show a bill of estimate from the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation for the construction of classrooms and computer laboratory for a citizens association in the parish. The invoice for a little over $9 million was approved and payment dispersed to the contractor. However, the check was withdrawn as the group was no longer interested in the sponsorship. A subsequent request was made, this time by a board member of the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica (PCJ), the parent company of Petrojam. The board member wished to cancel the request and submit another for a new citizens association, this time for the renovation of its community center. Emails recovered revealed that Petrojam's general manager Floyd Grindley instructed his employee to prepare board submission documents to use the already approved sums for this new request. That is, the $9 million for the other citizens association. Further investigation showed that the documents were only approved by former board chairman Percival Bahadur Singh without the input of the other board members. A check was written in the name of the group, but Petrojam failed to provide an invoice. The AG revealed that after checking with the Department of Cooperatives and the Friendly Society, a regulatory agency for NGOs, the Citizens Association was not registered. In order to become eligible for sponsorship at Petrojam, groups must be registered with DCFS. In 2 other incidents, Petrojam's board approved the donations of over $10 million to a primary school for the construction of 2 classrooms and $6 million to a high school for the construction of a mini stadium. The bill of estimate was again submitted by the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation. Payment was made to the same contractor engaged for the Citizens Association renovations work. But again, the check was cancelled, this time without justification. A new check was made to the primary school. However, for the high school, the report shows that Petrojam did not provide evidence of a donation request, nor a bill of estimates of the construction of the mini stadium. Emails recovered from April 2017 revealed that a member of parliament wrote to the then Minister of Science, Energy and Technology, Andrew Wheatley, conveying deep felt appreciation as it relates to the allocation to be received. But this was before the board received submission of the request, which was approved a month later. Petrojam prepared a check dated July 4, 2017, made payable to the high school. The report highlighted Section 1.3 of Petrojam's donation policy, stating the company involvement and administration of this policy will in no way be influenced by personal, political, religious, or ethnic considerations.
And Prime Minister Andrew Holness is calling the Auditor General's report, quote, a watershed moment for transparency and accountability in Jamaica. He says the government will be addressing the issues highlighted while paying keen attention to Petrojam's spending habits. Shoshana Small has that story.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the Auditor General's report into the operations at Petrojam is a turning point in the level of transparency and accountability in Jamaica.
I believe that you could say that this is a watershed moment for transparency and accountability in Jamaica. The government welcomes the report and will take further action.
He notes that the government had already started implementing some of the recommendations in the report, but will ensure that all the issues highlighted are addressed, especially Petrojam's spending habits.
There have been some matters highlighted for which we have already acted. We have already addressed several of the governance issues. There's still more issues that she has raised, which I will obviously have to address. For example, what has caught my eye of great interest is the issue with the pricing. That is something that we will have to take a very serious look at. Issues to do with infrugality of the use of public resources, that has to also be addressed.
In the meantime, President of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, Howard Mitchell, says that the Auditor General's findings highlight the need for the government to implement regulations to govern public bodies.
This points to the chronic and immediate need for the implementation of the regulations and the requirements of the Public Bodies Management and Accounting Act and the Financial Administration and Audit Act, as well as the implementation of the commitments made by both the Cabinet of Jamaica and the Minister of Finance in April for the implementation of the governance protocols in choosing board members and board chairmen.
And the opposition People's National Party and the National Integrity Action also voiced their concerns over the Auditor General's findings. The PNP is calling for a forensic audit into the state-owned oil refinery and wants the matter immediately referred to the Commissioner of Police to begin criminal investigations into what it says are a number of questionable transactions. The party says the forensic audit and the police investigation are necessary to ascertain what exactly took place and who is responsible for the disappearance of misappropriation of millions of dollars. The PNP is also calling on former Energy Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley and the former Petrojam Chairman Percival Bahadur Singh to repay the $2.6 million used to pay for their personal parties. In the meantime, the National Integrity Action NIA is also calling for sanctions to be applied and punishment to be administered to those responsible. In a statement, the NIA said the resignation of board members and staff is not enough. It said the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA, and the Integrity Commission need to complete their investigations and report to the public so that prosecutions can take place where there is evidence of wrongdoing. Meanwhile, the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce is also calling for a forensic audit into Petrojam. JCC President Lloyd Distant Jr. says if it's found that criminal acts were committed, then criminal prosecutions should take place.
We believe the extent to which criminal acts have happened, that they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The findings from this report should cause us all to pause and take note of the flagrant misuse of public funds in one instance and the lack of governance and oversight that needs to take place for a company that has been racking up losses for what appears to be an extended period.
Mr. Distant says the board and former Energy Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley should be held responsible.
There's a multitude of persons who have responsibility. I think the board and obviously the Auditor General report speaks to the active responsibility of the executive management. It speaks to the responsibility of the permanent secretary, and we believe that to the extent that the minister did not conduct the due diligence necessary and to follow up on the things that the board ought to have been doing and getting his own reports, that there is some responsibility that would have to be left at it.
The JCC president says the problem with Petrojam goes far beyond the actions of a few individuals. He says it represents massive systemic failures both within the institution itself and in those organs of the state with oversight responsibilities. The JCC further notes that the report suggests officers were able to act with impunity and pick and choose which directives it will observe and which it will disregard. It's questioning whether such a situation exists at other public bodies. When we come back, a closer look at the Jamaican film industry. So stay with us. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. Jamaica's film industry contributed $1 billion to the local economy during the last fiscal year. The industry is again poised for another blockbuster year, with major emphasis now being placed on developing local talent. WBR sat down with Film Commissioner at JAMPRO, Renee Robinson, to find out more about the plans. Take a look. Jamaica has long been the backdrop for some big Hollywood blockbusters, but that hasn't been enough to sustain and develop a local film industry. With the Jamaican talent not short in supply, the Jamaica Promotions Corporation JAMPRO, under Film Commissioner Renee Robinson, embarked on a 3-year plan to help nurture and grow the local industry. The plan saw the local film industry contributing some $1 billion to the economy during year 1.
Between the 2017 and now, we've had a lot of successes. We've had a lot of productions coming to the island, and we've also had a lot of local productions that have happened, and we've had a lot of success with some of the programs that we've been working on. So I'm very happy to report that in the 17-18 fiscal year, the film industry contributed over 1 billion Jamaican dollars to the local economy. So we bust $1 billion for the first time. And so that was a very proud moment for us. And what that means is that if you were to look at the volume of productions that spend, so the amount of the budget from an international production that is coming to Jamaica and hiring cast, hiring crew, renting equipment, spending money on hotels, ordering food and catering on set. If you look at all of that, the value of that budget that is being spent in Jamaica and being contributed to the local economy, we bust $1 billion in 2017-18.
The Film Commissioner points out that JAMPRO has been working to facilitate local content producers by exposing them to new markets.
It's always important for us that whatever it is that we're doing from a production capacity development perspective, that there's also a market attendance component on it, because the reality is we're tiny. We're a tiny island, we're larger than ourselves and we're bigger than life, but when it comes to business, we do need to be able to make these connections internationally. And so it has always been important for me that whenever we have a cohort that we're working with, that cohort also has access to what's happening globally. And so the Propeller films, so after being selected, the 5 Propeller films, they go to Clermont-Ferrand in France, which is the largest shorts market in the world. And then we also take them to the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival, where they have their premiere.
There's also facilitation for entrepreneurs who want to invest in the local creative industry.
What we've done through the BOSS program is we identified a cohort of 10 local investors, and we took them on business meetings in LA in September. And we had some senior meetings. So we had meetings with HBO and Lionsgate and Netflix, and with, banks that have an entertainment division, with high net worth individuals who specialize in film finance and entertainment, with lawyers and accountants to understand how do they actually manage the books, manage the paper trails and those kinds of things. And we had our investors meeting with these people, not in a pitch me kind of way, but in a listen, let's get down to the brass tacks. What is it about this industry, about this economy? How does it function? How do you make money out of it? And what are some interventions that we can start to implement in our industries and in our institutions in order to get over that hurdle?
Major focus has also been placed on building the local animation industry.
Well, the animation industry has been a sector of priority for us, and particularly through the relationship that we have with the World Bank and the YEDI project, which is the Youth Employment in Digital and Animated Industries. So this project is a part of, it sits within OPM, and we've been working with them for the past couple of years to try to advance the animation industry in particular, because it's future proof. There's always these applications, so it's not just animation for the entertainment content, but there's also animation for other applications.
Meanwhile, the Jamaica Film Commissioner says with increased and improved collaboration, the industry will only get stronger.
One of the things that I readily and heavily depend on is the support of JAFTA and JAN. JAFTA is the Jamaica Film and TV Association, and JAN is the Jamaica Animation Nation Network. So these are the two industry associations that represent all of the people who are working as practitioners in these two sectors that we represent. So as you said, it's really impossible for JAMPRO to be able to touch all of the individual people, but the association is there to do that. And so I really encourage anybody who's working in the field to join the associations, become a part of the associations, and to engage with the association, because it is through the association that any of the opportunities that we deliver are put out.
Company news comes up next, then later. He's only 7 but already a self-made millionaire. We'll tell you how in the final segment of the show. More WBR after this break. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. Wigton hoping to list next March. SVL begins Guyana operations, and Fly Jamaica hit with class action lawsuit. Here's this week's company news.
The Wigton wind farm is expected to be listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange by March next year. The Development Bank of Jamaica (DBJ), which is overseeing the initial public offering IPO, says the process is progressing smoothly and activities will start once the JN Fund Manager's debt refinancing is complete. JN Fund Managers was chosen by the DBJ to help Wigton refinance its Petrocaribe loan. The refinancing, which will restructure Wigton's balance sheet to manage the foreign exchange risks, is the first step towards a successful IPO. Approximately $7 billion will be refinanced. Once listed, Wigton will be the second energy-related company on the market. Supreme Ventures Limited has begun a phased operations rollout in Guyana. The company had signed an agreement with the Guyana Gaming Authority in March. Supreme Ventures Limited says extensive research was done about the Guyanese market, and it is confident that it can add value to it. In Phase 1, the company will roll out its horse racing products. This will feature wagering on races simulcast from Caymanas Park and North America. Supreme Ventures' entry into the Guyanese market will see it competing against Princess Hotel and Casino and Guyana Lottery for market share. There's still uncertainty surrounding the operations of Fly Jamaica Airways after a flight from Georgetown to Toronto crash-landed a few weeks ago. The airline cancelled all flights last week. A press release published on the company's website a week ago said customers should expect flight delays and cancellations as the airline's aircraft was out of service. A subsequent press release from Fly Jamaica CEO and Chairman Paul Rees also warned of upcoming delays. Meanwhile, 3 Toronto-based law firms representing several passengers have filed a class action lawsuit against the airline. They're asking for compensation for passengers on the flight which crash-landed in Guyana on November 9.
Let's now take a look at the closing numbers from the major stock markets around the world. When we come back, $1 Million Baby. This 7-year-old has found his way onto the Forbes richest list. More on that after this break. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. Now, he's only 7, but he raked in over $11 million last year, making him the 8th highest paid YouTube star.
YouTube star Ryan is only 7 years old, but he's already selling out aisles of toys at Walmart and Target like a retail veteran.
What's it like to see yourself right there?
It's so cool because I can see myself.
His eggs and squishies are some of the hottest toys this holiday season. It all started with YouTube videos he made with his parents at age 3.
See you next time.
They've now been viewed more than 25 billion times, transforming the boy wonder into the 8th highest paid YouTube star. He made an estimated $11 million last year. And retailers have now turned to influencers like Ryan to get families into their stores.
Why do you think all these kids out there like watching your videos?
Because I'm entertaining and I'm funny.
But like many first graders, he's just a kid too, losing his first tooth and avoiding his veggies.
He is a picky eater, and he's also very sociable at school.
And toys are just the beginning. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a game developer.
With no plans to stop playing anytime soon. Jolene Kent, NBC News, Burbank.
And that's our show for this week. On behalf of the entire Weekend Business Report team, I'm Keneal. See you next time.